Thank you, David. Before I start, I brought a picture that we have in our home that we received a couple of years ago, a copy of. Two survived the war. One was my mother's Mao, who died in an airplane accident over at Zandvoort in 1954, and the other one was my mother. Everybody else perished. A family wiped out, except for my mother. It puts a special burden and responsibility on descendants. And we'll talk about that in a little bit for all of us. I've been known to give a speech or two. Those of you that know me, I'm usually fairly good, and I usually know what to say. This was not one of those days that I will be very good, I think, and that I won't be emotional. But I will tell you the following, because I told you that when we were, that's where the party was for my 12 o'clock, and we got to Amsterdam at 1 o'clock, and I spent the next 2 hours driving in circles and circles, and sometimes we didn't have any idea. We could see the Krasnopolski, we could touch it, we just didn't know how to get there. So finally, out of complete angst, we decided to hell with it. We're going in the wrong direction. We're going to upgrade your room to premium. You're getting free breakfast. Your daughter is getting free breakfast. It's like, my God, it was manna from heaven. So, in all emotional things and all difficult things, there's joy. The truth of the matter is, I thought long and hard, because it's only one story about only one person. But the problem is that he had friends, Tony DeHaan, and somebody else. We did know that he played. We didn't know he played violin. I did, but we knew that he was musically inclined. A young man, he just wanted to live a normal life. He didn't care whether or not he was going to be Orthodox or not Orthodox. He may not have cared as to how important Judaism was. He wanted probably to be able to go to school, which he was denied on September 1st, 1941, as your father's diary showed. He would have liked to be able to play on my mother's 21st birthday, or 20th birthday, on January 1st. It became different. And I remember a year after he died, I came to Florida to visit her, and he said, "Sit down." She said, "I'm not going to mourn anymore." And my mother took out a book of photos. Was her first fiance, Hans, and Hetty, who was sitting there, she would call her sister-in-law, and they would call constantly. So also for my mother, thinking about her brother and for her own life, before the war was one life, and after the war was another. But she would tell you, if she was here today, that God was good to her. The violin that we are going to get today, in fact, represents his legacy. And I wanted to talk something about his legacy on a very personal note. My mother's family traced its origin from Portugal to 1500. That is a long, long time. And I told you earlier about the importance of names in our family, just with the interconnection of the visit a house where my mother lived on Boiler Strand, around the corner. And the first time that we knocked on the door 5 years ago, we knocked on the door, and there's a family by the name of Van den Berg who was in that house, who opened their house to us today. More importantly, kind of strange but really true, when my father and mother fled Amsterdam, they went to Kampen. And my father, who had instincts, saw that when he walked to the barn where a number of Jewish families were to meet to go and be sent out into the countryside and to be hidden, my dad turned around to my mother and said, "I'm not staying. Rodriguez." That is my original birth certificate. In Holland, if your parents were not married, they would not put the father's name down. And after my parents married, after I was born, they worked for 7 years to change that to Marcel Lubertus Brown. But as of today, in honor of not only Bram, but my grandparents and all of the other Brahms before him.
Lucky for you, Marcel said everything that I wrote and was going to say, so it's going to be really short. And of course, he's the big brother, so he gets to go first, so that's the good news. Now the bad news is I'm still going to read really quickly what I wrote, because that's Leo, the second kid. Anyway, so I wrote this, and I'll do it really fast, so make the camera put on slow motion, and we can do this. So, a violin owned by a young man named Bram brings us all here together. It's 75 years, but it's still something we have to do to remember, because remembering is everything. The violin is this instrument that allows us to remember him, honor him, to grieve for him, and to remind us again that if we do not learn from the past, it will be repeated. These are dangerous times for the Jewish people. And joining us here today are members of the Kifta family, which we have said many times. I'll say it again. My brothers, sisters, children, and grandchildren would not be here today were it not for the bravery and kindness of this wonderful family. Their family. Now, my oldest brother is Marcel Lubertus. Lubertus de Kifta was Umbertus, and that's his. Marcel's grandson is Sander, which is the grandson of Umbertus de Kifta, who is the son of Harmonina, who is the daughter of Lubertus de Kifta. It sounds complicated. If Marcel's grandson Sander, by the way, becomes 7 feet tall, that would also be very interesting. Mom would have been very happy.